look for someone that's been successful in it and start talking to them. I don't know how I would have grown without a solid mentor that cared about me and cared about my success, and people really like to share. So don't be shy. Just reach out, ask for a meeting, share your goals with them, ask for feedback about how you can get there. I think that's the best way to do it.
Welcome, everyone, to the Road Less Traveled Show. This is a show about people that were successful in a previous career and left that career to go down a different path. I'm your co-host, Richard Coyne.
And I'm your co-host, Bill Zahller.
On today's show, we're so pleased to have Brett Bowman with us. Brett, welcome.
Thank you, guys. It's good to be here.
Absolutely, Brett. Well, yeah, thank you again for being on the Road Less Traveled Show. To start with, can you tell our listeners a little bit about your background, what career you started in, and how long you're in that line of work?
Sure. Yeah. So I've been in various roles, mostly in corporate finance and program management, last about 15, 20 years. So I started in finance and moved over to high tech. So I've been in high tech about 10, 11 years now. And like I said before, doing corporate finance, mostly program management. And I found it to be a really good transition into real estate. There's a lot of overlap, surprisingly.
All right. Well, speaking of that, on the real estate side, so what path have you transitioned to? Yeah,
so over the last about 3-4 years, I've transitioned into I started as a passive commercial real estate investor, kind of moving in more like limited partner in some syndications. And then about 2-3 years ago, I met my business partner, Ryan Hill, and we've been partnering ever since. And we mostly buy mobile home communities. We've started to buy some RV parks because there's some overlap there. Even have one retail center. And we've got about 23 communities now, 1,200 lots, mostly focusing in the Midwest. So we really like the Kansas City area. That's where I started as an LP, so I got to know the market from a limited partner standpoint. And our first mobile home park was there, and then we kind of have built a team in Kansas City. So we've focused in the 3 to 5 hour radius around Kansas City. So we've got Des Moines, Cedar Rapids, Iowa, Springfield, Missouri, and some other smaller towns in Kansas that, just really easy for us to scale because we've got such a great team there.
Nice.
Great.
Very cool. Good deal. Yeah. So Brett, as you look back, you mentioned corporate finance and then high tech and whatnot. And I was in the high tech world myself, not really the corporate finance side, but I had some of my clients were in fact my company that I used to work for with finance department. We were deploying our own software within that company, both on the accounting, closing the books side as well as the financial budgeting and planning side, that type of thing. And I was coming from the East Coast, running a client on the West Coast, and then my company decided to give me those two projects, which was up in Silicon Valley. So I would hop all over California a couple of times and then take red eyes home, and it was long travel for me. But
wow,
anyway, so as you think back to your days, perhaps the corporate finance, perhaps the high tech, is there a funny story you can share?
Yeah, for sure. So when I used to work at a startup company for a couple of years, and they've actually grown quite a bit, over 500 employees now. But at the time, I was employee number 17. So it's been kind of eye-opening to me to work at large companies, work at the startup, and then now starting my own company, and just kind of see some of the learning and growth and pain points you see. So I remember just coming into the startup and looking at their support model. So they asked me to evaluate the end-to-end support model and kind of see how they could gain some efficiencies, save some costs. And what they were doing is they had set up 5 Gmail accounts where people would just email. So sales@gmail.com, support@gmail.com, or well, it was their domain, but it was a Google account, right? And to them, that had been an efficiency gain at the time, because rather than having one inbox, they had multiple, so they kind of knew what to focus on. But what they were seeing is they had like the chief operating officer was jumping in there, and he'd respond to these emails. A couple other people would, and they would frequently respond to the same email at the same time because they couldn't tell who was on which email, and then there was no workflow or follow through. So not necessarily a funny story, but it's one of those things that I think frequently we get stuck in a way that works for us, and it's hard for us to come up out of that and find a better way, because there typically is. So it's always good to have a fresh set of eyes. So quick answer to what we ended up doing is we transitioned to a CRM that was actually fairly easy for us because we were able to transition or like have all of those emails forward to the CRM, and it just opened a ticket, every one of them. So it wasn't even really painful. And then we just had to set up some automation and everything. So huge win, not too much pain to actually transition.
Nice. And again, that's symptomatic of just a business growing. You know,
For sure.
you may have had a process that initially worked, but again, the point of growing is that you got to reevaluate what you are and what you've been doing and find a better way. Oftentimes, and like you said, there was problematic with multiple people spending time on the same thing, which was just a waste of time. And
for sure.
So nice, very cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, Brett, as you went from the finance to the high tech side and then onto the job here, what was the deciding factor that got you interested in the real estate and wanted to make a transition out of the high tech world into a more entrepreneurial venture?
Yeah. So I've, forever, 10, 15 years, whatever, I've been really interested in finance. That's obviously my career has been down that path. I started learning mostly about real estate kind of around the time that I discovered Rich Dad Poor Dad. I'm sure a lot of people say that, you hear that a lot, and just read his cash flow quadrant and, few other authors that just really got me excited about the benefits of real estate versus like the stock market. Right. And so I started doing investments where I was just on my own doing single family homes and had started working up to a point where I was going to start doing fourplexes when I learned about syndications. And I learned about syndications to my current company. I work at a massive company where we have large Slack channels with thousands of people in them. We have one group that's all about real estate, and they were talking about syndications. Kind of opened my eyes to some of the opportunities you can have where you invest some money with a group that knows what they're doing, and they do all the work for you. So even these single family homes that I was managing, even though I had property managers, it was still taking time, and it still was hard for me to scale that because every time I bought a home, I had to qualify for the loan. I had to apply for the loan, had the new down payment for it, and then do the rehab on the home and all of that. It wasn't really scaling like I'd expected. So throwing some money into syndication as a limited partner was very appealing to me. And that way I ended up learning a ton. And after doing that for a couple of years, I, as I mentioned before, met my business partner, Ryan, and we started doing our own syndications. I skipped a little bit of step there in the story. I started actually with the people I was limited partner with. I stepped into junior GP roles where they were mentoring me. So they knew I had corporate finance experience. So I started doing underwriting, modeling. I actually started doing a lot of the syndication work, the like legal work, and then some of the operations too. So I think that's something that as passive investors, we forget that there's an opportunity to maybe learn and jump in. And now that I am a sponsor, I love it when people want to learn and help out. There's always plenty of work to go around. So that was the way I kind of made that transition. As far as from work standpoint, I'm actually still working full-time with my W-2 job. And there's been times where it's been tough to float both of those because, obviously I've got my day job that my employer deserves my full focus, but then I've also got this side venture. And sometimes I've been working, 20, 30 hours a week on that in addition to my day job. And by the way, guys, I've got 6 kids. So it's a little bit tough.
You have 3 full-time jobs.
3 full-time jobs. Yep, exactly. So it's been tough to balance things, but what we've ended up doing, what's worked really well for us, is my business partner has been full-time since the summer. So about 6-7 months now, since summer 2022. And we've also got 4 full-time employees plus some really awesome virtual assistants. So it's gotten to the point now where I'm able to kind of be a little bit more hands-off. We have, I dig into this a little bit and later on if you're interested, but we've set up some systems that make it really easy for me to jump in, see what's important, help manage it, and then do what only I can do, and then kind of let the team do the rest of it. And that's worked really, really well for us for the last couple of months.
Oh, great.
That's awesome. Yeah, definitely. We'll ask more about that a little bit down the road, but yeah, that's great.
Sure.
So Brett, very, very nice that evolution of what you're talking about. And, so you mentioned as you were at your current employer, some of the Slack channels where you heard about people investing. That's really cool. That, again, I think people forget that, look, you love your job. That's great. You don't have to give up your job to do real estate, but at the same point in time, I think it's obviously, we've talked about this 100 times on this show. And I think people are aware of that create another stream of income. Do not just rely on just one employer, your livelihood and your future on just your paycheck. And, again, nothing bad against the employer or your, that approach, but, definitely do something for yourself and go beyond and create another stream of income. So, which is what you did. So very nice.
For sure.
So Brett, as you started moving in that direction, you mentioned again, I like the evolution as well. That's very cool that you were an LP and then you figured out how to be a junior GP by adding value to what they were doing. And I don't think enough people ask about that. There are a lot of people that want to get into syndication, want to do the type of deals that Bill and I do, that you do. They just have no clue where to start. And that's a great path that you just shared. I really do like that. So maybe as you were shifting and starting to do your own deals, can you talk about any obstacles you encountered along the way, maybe for your own deals?
Yeah, for sure. So I think, I hit obstacles all the time. I think, that's pretty normal. The most common obstacles that I've seen have been when we've shifted to a different asset class. So all of my limited partner syndications were pretty much in multifamily. As I started kind of shifting into a GP route, I branched out and met a couple other sponsors, one that did mobile home parks and one that did industrial and retail. And so I kind of started learning those asset classes from those other sponsors, but didn't really go deep on them because I was never managing them. So then getting into mobile home communities, we started off small. So Ryan had already owned a small mobile home park of his own for a couple of years, and we bought one literally a mile down the road from it. So the scale was relatively easy because we could use the same property manager, same contractors, and then I was able to learn with Ryan along the way. But there's so many nuances to mobile home parks that, if you've done multifamily, you're going to understand a lot of how it works with mobile home parks, but there's nuances to it, and vice versa. I don't think I could successfully run a multifamily business on my own because I haven't done that yet. So I think really leveraging partnerships, leveraging education. There's lots of Facebook groups out there. There's lots of podcasts out there like your guys is. Like there's lots of opportunities to learn. And for me, I just think it's important to partner with somebody that's done it before too. I think that can be helpful.
Yeah, well said.
I always talk about, learning from either, the mistakes, your own mistakes and mistakes of other can kind of compress time. So if you have somebody that has the experience you partner with, that kind of shortcuts the entire process, which is obviously great.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Well, Brett, as you look back and you think of what your first victory was, you'd classify as you got into the real estate, it kind of really solidified it for you that this is a path I can go down and something I'm excited about doing.
Yeah. So we bought the first small mobile home park in October of 2020, I think it was. And we were planning to just buy another mobile home park when I saw an on-market deal from a broker that we were following come on market in December of that same year. And it was about 250 mobile home community or 250 units across 4 communities. And my initial take was, holy cow, that's too big. There's no way. And I just kept looking. I'm like, that makes so much sense for us. The market's perfect. It's in our geography. We should really try to make that happen. And in my head, the way that I was confident we could make this happen is I'd had other partners that I thought, well, if we can't do it on our own, we can JV with somebody else that'll help us take it down, right? So my initial plan was to have one of my mentors come in and help us raise the equity and kind of sign on the loan and all of that. Well, down about 6 weeks before closing, found out that the partner that was going to come in and sign on the loan couldn't sign on the loan for various reasons, and had also decided they had too much going on to partner with us. So we were kind of left at the altar where we had to have $3 million for this down payment, and we had to single-handedly qualify for a loan that we totally out of our ballpark, right? Well, we were able to pull it together in that span through a number of things that came together. But one, we had 2 of the 3 sellers in that group wanted to reinvest, so they reinvested with us, and one of them actually raised another $1 million for us from his friends and family. And so once we closed on that, I think that was the kind of turning point where we were like, wow, we can actually do this. Like obviously you need help. There's a lot of luck that goes along the way, but you work hard and you can make things happen. And then we kind of never looked back. We've just continued to find good deals that have worked for us and built the team that I've talked about before.
Well, that's great. Yeah. And that's what a lot of it is, right? It's just problem solving. I mean, there's always going to be problems, and it's how you get more experience and more options you'll see to solve the problems, but that's what we do all day long.
100%. And
that's
I mean,
great.
I've learned you've got to have backup plans all over the place too, because like you can never really count on your first plan to happen. So
Absolutely. Yeah, that's a similar story. The Richard and I had that our very first deal, a guy we had on that was going to co-sign and all that. It was had the GP experience. He backed out at the last minute. Same thing. Scramble, to get it done again. But yeah, similar story.
Yeah, you had an easy 6 weeks. I think we had a short 2 weeks.
Oh my gosh! Wow.
Yeah, wow. We wound up having to extend, but we got it done. But anyway, so.
And I wish I could say that's the only time that's happened, but we literally had the same thing happen again just in September of this last year. We were still able to close early November. So it's it's like you said, problem solving, hustle, just determination. You can get it done.
Yeah, exactly. And again, the more experience you have, the more you're able to continue to look for other creative ways to solve those problems. But again, I think like you said earlier, in a way, contingencies have contingencies and backups along the way to, because, something is going to happen. And again, I don't, hopefully, bad stuff doesn't happen where somebody, backs out on you, but at the same point in time, you got to have a plan. So, yeah.
Yep. Absolutely.
You can't let it crush you and just stop you. You've got to keep moving. So, Brett, as you're in this real estate world, in these MHPs and some RV parks, like you said, is there a funny story you can share?
Yeah. So what's interesting about, and again, I don't know if this is something that happens in multifamily at all, but in mobile home communities and RV parks, frequently you're just outside of city limits. And so there's no sewer or utilities. The gold standard is you want city water, city sewer, direct build, right? Mm-hmm. And then the next level is you've got city water and sewer, but you have to do the submetering for it. But then frequently you've got a well or you've got a lagoon and septic and all these things, right? And I have been amazed at how much I have learned about poop and poop treatment over the last couple of years of my career. And so I will tell you, we love poop puns at Suncrest. We have them all the time. So sometimes we have crappy days, and sometimes we, talk about the crap we're dealing with. And literally we've had our team members knee deep in crap, so it's we laugh pretty hard with these. They never get old. So
yeah. So fortunately, Bill and I don't have to deal with septic or anything like that.
Yeah, I can imagine.
But anyway, but in a personal investment, I actually have a story there. That's I bought a single family house that actually my wife and I still own it today, and we had some sewer issue going on, and we're sitting there going, what the heck's going on? And, you dug down in sort of like that cleanout trap, and the guy was checking it for me. He's like, oh, I see terracotta. I'm like, oh man, that's not good. Well, it's a home built in 1955. Well, they didn't always use PVC. They didn't always use, cast iron, especially for waste lines and things like that, at least out of the house. Cast iron waste lines in the house, but outside of the house, God only knows.
Yeah.
Well, it turns out that the house is actually on septic, and I had no idea.
Oh man.
The septic was actually buried. You couldn't even see access to it. Anyway, we got it all cleaned out and taken care of and all fixed up. But anyway, it was I knew the house was on city water, but I did not realize it was not on city sewer. So
well, it makes me feel better. We have a park that has a septic system, and we found 2 tanks that we didn't know about that had not been. And the manager there had been managing it for 15 years and didn't know. So those had not been emptied in at least 15 years. So, it's not just you.
That's a lot of crap. Yep.
Yep. Pretty crappy. I will say that we just successfully transitioned that park from well and septic over to city water and sewer just this last month. So that was pretty cool to see that completely go over. So
nice. Yeah. Very cool.
Well, Brett, where are you today in your journey? You mentioned that you transitioned from the LP side on multifamily to the GP role in mobile homes and then RV parks, now expanding. So kind of where are you now and where are you looking to expand to?
Yeah, at this time, I kind of mentioned before, we've gotten our team to a point where we've got a really strong team. Our newest member has been around for 8 months. We've got a couple with 1.5 to 2 year tenure. So we've got really good things flowing now where people know, we just did this large almost 500 unit closing, and the transition was amazing. Like everybody just knew exactly what to do, how to do it, and it was almost flawless. Obviously, they're never flawless completely, but just worked so well. We've got this new system we're doing in place that I mentioned before. We're actually just coming up on a little over a year that we've been doing it for. And so the reason I say that is I used to think that my plan was to become full-time in real estate. And as I've seen this, I really enjoy my day job. I don't think I could really replace my day job income anytime soon with the path I'm doing, because especially we've been rolling all that income back into doing hiring other employees to help us grow faster. So I've been really happy with the current path that I'm on, where we're going to continue scaling, depend on the team. My partner is kind of running the full-time show with the operations side. I'm continuing to do finance, investor relations, the raise, the legal stuff, kind of heading over acquisitions where he's doing all the other operational stuff. And so for now, my plan is to continue doing it that way. We've got 1,200 units. Our goal is to get to above 2,000 this year. That's going to be challenging with the economy. Obviously, I'm sure you guys are seeing that as well. So we may need to slip back on that goal. But as we grow, I think the plan is just to continue to grow the team versus have me go full time.
Good. Excellent.
Nice.
Yeah.
Brett, is there something you can share that perhaps you do personally, corporately, whatever makes sense to talk about that you could do where you make an effort to give back in some way? Yeah,
so I've got kind of two things I'll share quickly. On the business side, we're big fans of, we invest in and operate in affordable housing. And a lot of times you see mobile home communities kind of the last safety net for affordable housing. I mean, you can have some that are really, really nice, right? Like garages, double wides. You have others that are still pretty nice. And even the lowest, in some ways, it's nicer than an apartment complex in the sense that you've got your own home. There's no immediate neighbors. You can park right by your house. You own the home generally, so you've got some equity in your building. But you're still, the safety net really for affordable housing. And so as we've seen in areas we're at, rents go up 50, sometimes 50 to 70% increases that we've seen other operators do in 1 year. We've been really passionate about making sure that the increases are not too much for our residents. And so we really try hard to keep rents affordable. We do believe in sub-metering because we think everybody should, pay their own, and we've seen consumption goes down dramatically. So I think it's good for the environment as well. On the personal side, I work with a group called F3 Nation or F3. It's kind of a workout group, but essentially we work. One of the things we do is we focus on children and teaching kids how to exercise and find healthy habits and form healthy habits. And so we do workouts with kids and kind of do more community things with kids. And so having 6 kids, I really love that. Working with a broader group. So it's kind of the other share.
So wait a minute. So when you bring your own 6 kids, the room's already full. How do you?
Oh, for sure. Oh yeah, we take up a third of the room every time.
That's right. Good deal.
Well, Brett, what's something you've recently implemented in your business that's allowed you to scale? You mentioned some VAs and building out your team. Is there anything in particular you've recently implemented you can think?
Yeah, I've been kind of teasing at this the whole time. I am really bad. I love scaling stuff and looking for efficiencies. It's one of my big hobbies, has been since business school. I just have always found that really fun. So there's several things we've done over the last couple of years, but the biggest change we've made is we moved over to the entrepreneurial operating system from Guy Wickman. He's got a couple books.
Traction.
Traction is the one that I would recommend reading for the most part. But there's a couple tenets out of that you get. And the first one is that you have a weekly meeting called the Weekly Pulse. And in that meeting, it's a strict agenda set, timed everything, where you start off with what are some wins we've had, what are some struggles we've had, and then you go through your goals for the year and for the quarter. And all you say is, yes, it's on track, or no, it's not on track. That's it. You just go, everybody is accountable for whether it's on track or not. And then the last hour of the meeting is all about issues. And so if a goal isn't on track, that becomes an issue and you're tracking it. And so as a team, and this is just your leadership team, you're spending 90 minutes a week talking about how are our goals doing and then what are our issues. And so you can really solve a lot and get everybody on the same page. We also review our scorecard during that meeting. So what I found with, again, our team working really well together is that's the main meeting I need to hit every single week. We have other meetings that I try to hit as well, but that's the biggest one. And if I can hit that, I'm dialed in. I see what's most important. I can give my direction and kind of like be a leader in the business and still be successful with that. Quickly, the other thing that we've had that's been a win has been virtual assistants. And the group that, so we've used virtual assistants that have done anything from bookkeeping, marketing, emails, skip tracing to try to find mobile home communities off market. One of my favorite ones, though, is over the last year and a half, we've been using a team that does underwriting for us. So I'm the underwriter normally, but I'm a huge bottleneck, right? So having this team that's super talented, knows exactly what they're doing with Excel, they do a really good job looking at CoStar data, other data. They can do the first round of underwriting, and it's dramatically reduced the amount of deals I have to look at because I'm only looking at the ones that they look at and recommend. And after working with them for as long as we have and giving them feedback, they know what to bring to us and what not to. So it's become super vital for us. It's been awesome.
That's great.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've heard about obviously a lot of the the marketing or the some of the legwork and stuff like that. But I'm aware of other people that have been asked to underwrite as like an extra vetting process, but I didn't realize about it, using that kind of concept at the top of the funnel. So very cool.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it's been great. I mean, of course, if we've got a deal that we've got an offer accepted, we'll re-underwrite it ourselves from scratch just to be like 100% sure we're seeing the same things that our team is. But we don't even get to that point so we don't waste that time unless it's a deal that's going to work.
Yeah. Nice. Okay. Very cool. So Brett, what advice would you give somebody who's considering making a path change?
I would say in general, and this isn't just in real estate. Obviously, we've been talking about real estate this whole time, but in general, look for mentors. If it's a path you want to go down, look for someone that's been successful in it and start talking to them. I think I'm a huge fan of mentors. I've had mentors in my corporate career as well as in the real estate space, and I don't know how I would have grown without a solid mentor that cared about me and cared about my success. And a lot of them, in the real estate space, I've found for sure people really like to share. They're happy to educate. They're happy to mentor. So don't be shy. Just reach out, ask for a meeting, share your goals with them, ask for feedback about how you can get there. I think that's the best way to do it.
Nice. Yeah. Again, I think you're right. People generally are happy to share ideas and thoughts and guidance and whatever in the real estate space. I mean, a lot of people were very gracious with their time and some ideas and thoughts early when we were getting started. And so we do what we can to help give back to others in that way. And in terms of we do this show for advice. We do run 2 monthly meetings. And again, we're always talking with folks about their ideas and goals and things like that as well. So very nice. Yeah.
Well, Brett, what's the best way for the listeners to reach out and find out more about what you have going on? Yeah.
So our website is Suncrest Cap, short for capital. So suncrestcap.com. And my email is Brett, so BRETT @suncrestcap.com. Those are probably the best ways is to find me there. You can schedule time with me on the website. I'm also active on LinkedIn, so you can find me there too.
Excellent. And we'll put links in the show notes below to those sites. Well, Brett, we'd like to, again, thank you for being on the Road Less Traveled show today. We really enjoyed the conversation and wish you continued success.
Absolutely. Bill, Richard, thank you guys. It's been great talking to you as well.
Absolutely. Thank you, folks. Thank you, Brett, for being on. We'd also like to thank our listeners. Please continue to give us a 5-star rating so we can bring you more great content like our show today with Brett Bowman. And we'd also like to remind everybody that Park Capital Partners has 2 important things going on. First of all, that is the Park Capital Partners Value Add Fund, which is open today to accredited investors. It is a 506c fund. And we also have the Park Capital Partners Foundation. That is a 501c3 nonprofit that Bill and I created as a way that we give back beyond some of the other things we mentioned. The way that works very quickly is that First, Park Capital Partners funds the operations of that foundation. So all the money donated goes to do its best work, which is to help others. Second, we invest personally. Third, corporately, we invest as well. And then finally, when investors make an investment with us, we give the investor a chance to pick from a pre-selected list of 15 different charities, and we make a donation to honor that investor. So please certainly reach out to Bill and I. We're happy to talk anytime. Again, parkcapitalpartnersllc.com. And we, again, thank you, Brett, for being on. We really do appreciate it. And remember, folks, the road less traveled may be calling you. We recommend that you listen and take action. Thanks for joining.